Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. Today we have a very serious video and serious topic to go over. This is the election night 2025. Who will win between Kamala Harris, Donald Trump, and Santa Claus? Essentially a redo of the 2024 presidential election but in 2025, where Santa Claus is mounting the most serious third-party candidacy since going back to the early 1900s. Now, obviously, this is an election. The stakes could not be higher. The country is at its highest levels of polarization in a very long time, and Santa Claus has teamed up with the Grinch, who, after his heart grew 3 sizes and the Grinch realized the error of his ways, Santa treated him with a lot of grace and had him run on the ticket with him, and they are providing a sort of unity ticket against both Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, seeking to mend the divisiveness of the Democrats and Republicans in politics today. So let's see how this is all going to go. First things first, there are still a few handful of states based on the 2024 results that we can still expect will go for their respective parties. For instance, I still think Kamala Harris would win the District of Columbia after it did vote for her by nearly 84% in 2024. So that one's going to go red, or going to go blue without a doubt. Maryland a 28.5% win, Massachusetts 25-point wins. These are going to get a lot closer, but I do think ultimately Kamala Harris will still win these areas by at least likely margins. Similarly, we can look at some places for Donald Trump like Wyoming, which is a 46-point win, Idaho 36.5. These are areas that still I think are going to get closer, but we're going to see Donald Trump ultimately win. Now, these areas that are going to be very competitive, though, I think we're going to see Santa Claus and the Grinch really get a lot of independent voters out to vote for them, and that's going to make these places a lot closer. For instance, you can look at some of the results here. Washington, 18.2%, Oregon, 14.3%, California, Harris, 20.1%. These are places that are going to get marginally closer in ways we have not really seen before in a while. We're going to see Oregon very narrowly go for Santa Claus and the Grinch. California, just by the thinnest of margins, narrowly goes for Santa Claus and the Grinch. And then we have Washington, the state as well, also narrowly goes for Santa Claus and the Grinch and on that one. Some very important areas, the key battleground states of Nevada, Arizona. These are 2 areas that are going to have a lot of Republican, Democratic voters being split, which is going to present an opening for Santa Claus and the Grinch ticket to come in and win these very important areas. This is going to also replicate in Georgia, North Carolina, Wisconsin, Michigan, and in Pennsylvania, the key battleground states that were crucial to the White House path for Trump and Vance and Harris and Waltz are going to be going all for the Santa Claus and Grinch ticket. As you can already see, that Santa Claus and the Grinch are off to an early start. Now, when you look at some of these key areas, there are also going to be some areas where Santa Claus and the Grinch are going to be able to win that are usually Republican and Democratic, pretty solid red states, like Kansas, for instance, only being a 16-point win for Trump. And you could also look at a state like Montana, which is around a 20-point win. These are going to be a lot more close now in this third-party type of election. We're going to see Kansas ultimately narrowly go for Santa Claus and the Grinch, Montana as well. Now, North and South Dakota, I think, are still ultimately a little bit too red, where Trump and Vance still will hold on and win these areas. Similarly, as I made the message with Maryland, Massachusetts, and with District of Columbia, Vermont, I think, would also likely be in this situation, though Vermont going to be closer than usual. Maine's first congressional district, given how Democratic it is, will also probably remain on the Democratic side. But Santa Claus and the Grinch will make up very significant inroads in New Hampshire and win that by a solid margin. The state of Maine would also go for Santa Claus and the Grinch, and Maine's second congressional district would also go for Santa Claus and the Grinch. Connecticut also would flip and finally not vote Republican or Democrat and will flip to Santa Claus and the Grinch unity ticket. Rhode Island being a 13.8% win for Harris over Trump in 2024 would just be enough for Santa Claus and the Grinch to come in there and win those very important 4 electoral votes of Rhode Island and making it very competitive. New Jersey, the shocker of 2024, where it was only a 5.9% win for Harris over Trump. There's going to be enough independent voters and voters dissatisfied with Republicans and Democrats that Santa Claus and the Grinch will be able to come in and win those very important 14 electoral votes out of the state of New Jersey. Things certainly trending in the direction of Santa Claus and the Grinch. Look at New York, a 12.6% win here. Harris versus Trump going to be battling it out. but Santa Claus and the Grinch are going to win the 28 electoral votes of New York in very impressive margins out there. Now we can look at some states as well, like for instance, Hawaii. Hawaii voting for Kamala Harris by 23.1%. This one's going to come down to the wire, but Harris narrowly holds on and wins in Hawaii. We also have some southern states as well. We could look at like Louisiana, 22 points, Mississippi, Alabama, Arkansas. These are some key areas where Donald Trump may get some of his only wins of the night. Trump winning Alabama very narrowly, Mississippi narrowly, Arkansas narrowly, and Louisiana narrowly. But Santa Claus and the Grinch and their unity ticket do find a way to win Alaska in a very close margin. And a very, very important one here, Trump won Florida by 13.1% over Kamala Harris. But this time around, the Grinch and Santa Claus are able to narrowly win the state of Florida and get to 270 electoral votes, just barely breaking the threshold for Santa Claus and the Grinch. They're becoming the unity ticket to heal the nation and be the president of, well, Christmas Eve, I guess, and Christmas Day. But Santa Claus and the Grinch get to 270, but we're not done there. Some former battleground states that are now really longer competitive in the Democrat versus Republican side of things, but now in this election would be Minnesota and Virginia will both go to Santa Claus and the Grinch, as well as Ohio and Colorado and New Mexico all narrowly go for Claus and Grinch. The state of Texas as well, it's 40 electoral votes. There was no Texas voting blue. There was no, what would that be? Blexit or whatever, or Texit, whatever it is. But there is the Claus Grinch ticket winning it. There's a Clexis voting for them. That's 365 electoral votes. Missouri, right around the threshold of being a red win and a Claus win, but Santa Claus and the Grinch pull out a very important victory there, as well as narrow victories in Tennessee and in South Carolina. West Virginia does continue to vote red as one of the most red states in the country, narrowly going for Trump and Vance in this election. Delaware also, after voting roughly 14.7% for Harris in 2024, becomes very, very close to going to Harris yet again, and she just barely holds on to the state by under 1 point. As for the remaining states here, Iowa goes for Santa Claus and the Grinch. The state of Nebraska overall is going to be very interesting. Nebraska's 2nd district goes very reliably for Santa Claus. Nebraska's 1st district barely flips for Santa Claus. The 3rd district does still ultimately vote for Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, as it is very, very red as well. And Nebraska overall does narrowly flip for Santa Claus and the Grinch. Only a handful of states remaining. Utah very barely votes for Santa Claus instead of Trump. The Mormon population turning out to vote for Santa Claus was a big vote get for him. The state of Oklahoma, despite being a very red state, also does narrowly go for Santa Claus and the Grinch. Kentucky also narrowly going for Santa Claus, and Indiana going for Santa Claus, and Illinois coming down to the wire, going 10.9% for Harris over Trump. Santa Claus and the Grinch do barely pull out the victory. So the official election prediction for 2025 for Christmas, Santa Claus and the Grinch unity ticket defeat Donald Trump and J.D. Vance and Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, 456 electoral votes, Trump and Vance getting 47, and Harris and Walz getting 35, in a complete electoral college landslide and blowout in an election prediction that really could not be any more serious. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to hit like and subscribe. As always, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and I hope to see you in a future video.